New Bell, Ether Overload. Attach a magical chain to your opponent that turns your enemy's ether against them. 60-second cooldown. Behavior. When you press the resonance key, you throw a parryable, dodgeable, but unblockable chain in front of you that will pull your victim in and reduce their speed. Along with starting a countdown, the chain will remove if vented, but deal true damage equal to the power of the person who vented it. Going too far from the victim will break the chain, dealing 100 damage will also break the chain. After 10 seconds, the enemy will be overloaded and take large damage plus very small damage for every point of ether, not ether, in their bar. Slightly less small for every point of ether, not in the bar, and just small for every point of ether spent during the 10-second windup and elemental damage, with a cap of, I don't know, around a bar and a half total damage. Before resistances, most variants ignore hit stun, but don't inflict hit stun either. Variants, this spell will have 3 variants: Jumpstart, Firebomb, and Hemorrhage. Jumpstart will chain to other targets, inflicting Thundercall stun and doing some bonus damage equal to half the damage the original hit did minus the first hit's damage. Does thunder damage. This is the only variant with hit stun. Firebomb will cause an explosion that cannot be parried and ragdolls, inflicting sticky burn on all caught in the blast, yourself included. Does flame damage. Hemorrhage will have no AoE effect but will deal a flat 20% blood damage to the victim and deals an extra bit of blood damage. Does blood damage. The corrupted variant of this spell will make the initial hit deal oath damage instead of elemental damage, and reducing wind up to 8 seconds, but increasing the cooldown to 90 seconds, and causing the caster to take 50% more damage during the windup. If the caster takes more than 50 damage, then the bell is cancelled. This bell is maybe the stupidest thing ever, by the way. Like, first of all, it does too much damage. Like, a bar and a half cap before resistances is a ton. Because that means, like, what? That's like, what? 200 damage, and then after resistances, it's maybe still like 100 damage for using your bell with. And you can do that maybe 2 to 3 times per fight, depending on how long the fight is. Like, if it's an equal skill fight, it'll last like 2 to 3 minutes, so this would be really strong. And along with that, just like Jumpstart variant is just so much better than the other two. Yeah, let's give the bell with a chain on it that does ticks of damage hit stun. What? No, that's a terrible idea. That's literally what they had to nerf Deferred for when it first came out 4 years ago, when the game first came out, because that thing was broken. This is stupid. And also, just like, the damage is insane. Like, a lot of the values in this just need to be toned way down because they're just way too strong. Welcome back to another Reaconteur video, and in today's video we're going through more Deepwokens suggestions, the good, the bad, mostly good today actually. I noticed that there weren't a lot of bad ones that were submitted, so I hope you guys enjoy this, you know, as usual. And of course, as usual, I am live at twitch.tv/Reaconteur, where I'm live Mondays and Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now let's get straight into it. Add bracelets/bangles to Deepwoken for new rings. Just as how piercings were added as a face accessory, I think bracelets would do pretty well as a new accessory. Hell, you could even rework the rings category into limb accessories, so we could get bangles for our feet/legs. Long live Deepwoken. This one's actually pretty good. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just like more customization stuff. A lot of people like to submit customization stuff for suggestions. Those always do good because people just want more customization. I think Deepwoken drip matters more than build making these days anyway, especially because most people run the same builds anyway. War Tailor, great sword, scissors weapon. M1 combo, you strike with the scissors closed, then perform a flourish, slicing through enemies and dealing heavy bleed damage. With the crit, with your left hand you cast 3 threads forward, they lash onto the target, heavily slowing them after a brief moment. You execute 3 slashes, each one severing a thread and dealing high bleed damage. If the threads fail to connect, the follow-up slashes will not occur. If your attack is interrupted before or during the slashes, the thread will remain attached, slowing the target for 5 seconds. Fade Trimmer Oath monsters will deal additional bleed damage if the enemy has thread debuffs. This is actually pretty good, because I mean, they're adding scissoring to Deepwoken, but also this is a pretty cool looking weapon. Like, if you go to the design, I think it's actually pretty cool looking. Like, look at that model, that's kind of sick. Although I think the sad part about this is that it would definitely be heavily incentivized to go like Fade Trimmer with this, which, like, I don't want to play Fade Trimmer, but I guess if the weapon stands alone on its own by being really good, then that could also be pretty cool. But knowing the Deepwoken developers, it won't get added. You want to know why it won't get added? Because every time the Deepwoken developers see something cool, they don't add it. Oh, it's Hyperion. I've been getting some complaints from Hyperion. Guys, you need to stop calling Hyperion the bad suggestion guy in general. Like, really, it's pretty upsetting for him, especially when he has good suggestions. Like this one apparently was 69 stars. Haha, funny number. Anyway, add alternatives or replace the Hell Mode Echo task for W rank. Currently, you need to complete every single Echo task with modifiers to get W or S rank. Almost everything in the Echo task list can be soloed except for Hell Mode. Hell Mode is the biggest hurdle for people who are trying to get W rank, considering it first requires that you have 5 different people to even start it, and needing to defeat almost 100 monsters as a group. This makes Hell Mode essentially impossible able to do solo. So here's my suggestion on some alternatives to this, or just replacing the Hell Mode Echo task entirely with something else. Replace it with complete the Gauntman's Trial, which, you know, the Gauntman's Trial can be done solo and is much more possible to do than Hell Mode, so this would serve as an alternative to Hell Mode for people trying to get W rank. Defeat the Kirsten champion or Enraged Etheron. This can be either one of two things. After activating the Purge Shrine to obtain the Echo itself, you would need to defeat Enraged Etheron or the Kirsten champion. It's up to the devs to decide what the task itself would be. Or spar with the Maestro Evangard. Another alternative, considering Maestro is now able to be fought on any slot. This will require you to defeat the Maestro in order to get the Echo task. Okay, I mean, I guess the issue is that there's a 5-person start necessity on Hell Mode, but it's like, dude, you don't have any friends? Loser. Loser. You don't have any friends? Loser. Can't start Hell Mode? Loser. No, I'm joking. Hell Mode really is stupid, though, that you have to do it in the thing that you're supposed to solo for, but then it's like, oh, you need to do all of this stuff solo, but you also need 5 people in a group to do this. It's dumb. But yeah, I think they probably should replace it. I just wouldn't think you should do Enraged Deathrun for that. I think that's like the worst change for this. I think Gauntman's Trial would be the most sensical option here. A way to learn bosses. Requirement: beat the specific bosses at least once on any build, have 10 to 100 knowledge. How it could work. Talking to a specific NPC, for example, located in Meteor Isle, gives you a prompt for choosing any boss that you have defeated for X amount of knowledge. The prompt sends you to a memory dimension, that's spelled a little bit weird, where you fight the boss without any outside effects. Knowledge cost goes up with difficulty. Example: Ferryman 10, Duke 40, Kirsten Champion 100. Crowns can also be used and the values are not set, can be changed. The bosses that are massive like Etheron or Enmity can be disabled. Bosses like Chaser, who already have a safety net, can be disabled. Beating the boss gives no rewards. This posted discussion. Okay, a lot of people are saying no to this, some people are saying yes to this, some people are suggesting things to change this. First of all, I just wanted to say it's really funny when people say the values are not set, they can be changed. Like the developers are forced to use your suggestion as is and like implement your numbers into it. I think that's always really funny when people put that there. But I think that overall, probably not. Like, I feel like this is a weird thing because this would be kind of mid, like in the actual game. Like there's only maybe one boss. Like the Kirsten Champion's the only boss that I would say you should probably like practice, you know? The Kirsten Champion's the only boss I would ever use this for, and I think you should ever use this for because it's the only boss that risks wiping for. And honestly, that's like, it's so annoying. Getting down there with a light hook is pretty much impossible to fight the Kirsten champion with, and the only safety net you get is like not hitting him, so you can just practice the moves while you go ahead and run away every time you can. But this would also be super broken for stuff like Vow of Iron, which is purposely done for like timing based stuff and supposed to be speedrunnable. Because if you did this with Vow of Iron, dude, I'm just slamming out Vow of Iron in like 30 minutes. Like you could genuinely learn any Vow of Iron boss 10 times faster with this, which kind of takes away from the mode at the same time, which I mean, a lot of people would like that because, you know, they don't like dealing with all that stuff, but I personally think it would take away from kind of like the difficulty that's supposed to be there, even if it is a little bit artificial. Suggestion: toning down back hits. Don't worry guys, back hits are a thing of the past. All you gotta use is controller lock on. You'll never get back hit again, I promise. And if you're playing controller lock on against someone who doesn't have controller lock on, oh my god. Guess what, guys? Free back hits and you can't get back hit. It's so stupid. Anyway, as most of you know, or if you don't, landing a back hit of any kind ignores all resistances and deals true damage. Now this shouldn't be such a problem if macros specifically for back hitting didn't exist. Yeah, those exist and you basically auto back hit, which is crazy. Alright, I gotta say, this is so pussy. This is so pussy. First of all, macros for back hits exist. Like, people use macros for back hits. They're not even hard to do. Like, back hits are not hard to do. M1, walk forward, ice lance, turn around. Like, do people actually macro back hits? I have never heard of that, because it's just not hard to do in the slightest. Why do people macro back hits? I don't believe that. Like, there's no way. If that's real, please let me know in the comments, but they're not hard to do back hits for. Developers nerfed Spine Cutter, so it wouldn't be so powerful, but they forgot the main problem, which is all back hits bypassing all resistances innately. I do think the Spine Cutter nerf was kind of stupid. Turtle Shell solely exists to tone these down, but guess what? It's limited to medium and heavy, has 0 drawback, and it's free res. Light can't use it, which is crazy. So I'm suggesting, tone them down. Give back hits additional pen instead of them outright bypassing resistances. Pen bonus could be around 20 to 35% additive to still incentivize back hits. Probably controversial, but it needs to be done. It takes absolutely no effort to back hit anymore, and doesn't even make sense. I'm wearing armor everywhere, but somehow back hit fully ignores it. Really? TLDR, back hits are macroable and insanely broken. They need to be toned down. Yeah, I just don't think this is like that big of a problem. Like, I think toning down back hits a little bit is fine. I feel like the hitboxes are weird because I'm pretty sure the back hit hitbox is like 180 degrees, So the back half of your character counts as a back hit. So sometimes you'll hit someone from the side, like a shoulder, and that'll count as a back hit. And I think that honestly matters more. And along with that, I cannot believe people like macro back hits. Like, really? People do, really? Like, I understand, like, back when people used to macro in Rogue Lineage doing impossible combos, but the macros in Deepwoken are so pussy, it is insane. Like, people would macro in Rogue Lineage because it was either funny or like a little thing, and that was stupid. But if you macro in Deepwoken, you're such a pussy. Like, it is insane how bad you have to be at this game to macro. That's pathetic. Macroing in Deepwoken is the saddest shit I've ever heard. Because nothing in Deepwoken requires as much inputs as, like, they did in Rogue Lineage. So I don't understand why people macro so much in this game. That's stupid. This one is from a moderator, so automatically invalid. We can skip it. No, I'm joking. Merit Detainment Corps Guard. Merit Detainment Corps having no interactions with the Authority Origin is one of the most disappointing parts of the Origin for me personally, but I understand people would still want to play the dungeon normally, so I had an idea of a subdivision you can volunteer for and leave at any time. I already know what type of stuff he's going to talk about, I completely agree, but I don't think this is just a thing with the Detainment Corps. I think in general, Deepwoken doesn't have enough unique interactions given like faction loyalty and certain things like that. It's stupid, which I'll talk about that more after this. Detainment Corps Guard. Talking with a new NPC outside of the entrance to the Detainment Corps after either joining a division or becoming a Lance Corporal will give you the option to become a guard for the prison with its own ranking system separate from the main divisions. The job of a Detainment Corps Guard player would be to invade players/squads inside the dungeon after they disable the laser system. This gives the players going after Titus time to get decently far in the dungeon, while leaving enough time for the invading players to intercept them before Titus is released. Players entering the dungeon normally would have the option to disable being raided by going down a separate path and fighting a warden to disable an alarm system. Subdivision members will be rewarded a chest with loot from the Titus loot pool if they manage to kill all players going after Titus, and those going after Titus will be given an additional chest of Titus loot if they manage to kill the subdivision members. Everyone has something to benefit from opting into raids. Ranks. Instead of the ranks granting talents like normal progressions, ranks will give you advantages while inside of the Merit Detainment Corps. Guard. The starter rank gives access to the cannon system inside the dungeon. Senior Guard. Granted after 2 to 3 invasions, allows the player to spawn in a guard tower further inside the Detainment Corps. Captain. After 5 invasions, gives the player the ability to temporarily fix the laser system inside the dungeon. They can still be damaged from it, however. This would be really cool, and it reminds me of a few things. First of all, I remember Agamatsu, before he became a developer, actually had an idea, and it was supposed to be implemented into the game, I heard, or at least it was like drafted, where people would be able to go down the Ignition Union side to Layer 2 and raid people down in Layer 2. Originally, I think what they were supposed to do, or what they were going to do, was when the Blood Attunement, right, when that first came out, it was initially going to be an oath, and what they were going to do was make it an oath, and then people with that oath would go down and guard Chaser by like raiding players down in Layer 2, and I thought that was going to be super. And then and then they're like, okay, well maybe we'll do it with the Ignition Union where you go down and you kill people who go down with the divers, the light hook and stuff, right? But the sad part is it was never implemented, and it was never brought up ever again. And I think it was Agamatsu's idea, which is pretty ironic considering he's now the owner of the game, and, you know, it's still nowhere to be seen. Hey, Agamatsu, you might want to revisit that. It would be pretty fun if you could do, like, raids for Layer 2 and stuff. But this reminds me of that. But also, I think it's kind of lame how little of the map really interacts with your character based on your alignments and your oaths and all that. Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, maybe 2 NPCs will say something to you per oath or origin or something like that. But outside of it, there really isn't a whole lot, and I think this would actually just be really fun. Pharaoh Piercer, Iron Sing Sniper Rifle. Crit. You fire a massive spike that applies 1 rod and knocks back the enemy similarly to Grand Javelin. If the spike pins the enemy to the wall, they'll be stunned for a second. You hold the crit button, you enter aiming mode, from which you can fire in any direction while lying down. The projectile from this... Okay, I already see what this is, right? I don't like this. I see, like, it's creative, it's cool. And also, the design here, pretty cool, right? I don't like this. First of all, Iron Sing legendary weapon. Oh my god. Oh my god, I can't be the only person in the world that despises Iron Sing right now. I hopped on twice in the last like week to get chime clips, and I didn't even clip them, by the way, because NVIDIA GeForce was just stopped recording for no reason. I went against an Iron Sing player and the fight lasted 3 minutes because all he did was run around and spam mantras, and oh my god, it was so boring. I did beat him though, thank god. The point being, this is kind of problematic for 2 reasons, other than being an Iron Sing weapon, right? The whole aiming mode thing where you can fire in any direction while lying down is so abusable, oh my god. It sounds fun, and it would be fun, but could you imagine being in a gank and there's someone cross-map sniping at you? Oh my god, no, that doesn't need to exist. That's so bad. And I see like damage increases with distance. What? What? What do you mean the damage increases with distance? That's like the opposite of what guns do in real life. And even if it wasn't, I do not want to be getting cross-mapped and clipped by snipers in FPS Deepwoken. This does not need to be a thing. This would be probably the most broken weapon in the entire game if they added it. Terrible idea. But, you know, it's a lot of fun, so it's not that bad. It does look super cool, but oh my god, no, don't add this. It would be such a lame playstyle. How it works, activating the bell will draw 2 of the same card and throw 1 towards an enemy, parry only ability. Parrying the card will reflect it to another person on the battlefield. Cards, tallest peak. Both players must get to high ground, the one in the highest place wins. Both players on the same level, ends in a draw, no punishment. Both players cannot get boosted, teleported, or dragged by outside help. Using a mobility mantra results in being disqualified. Loser's punishment, you cannot climb and use mobility mantras for 12 seconds. If a player breaks the rule, add 7 seconds to the punishment. Eternal balance, both players must keep jumping for 10 seconds. If a player stops jumping for 1 second without being stunned, ragdolled, bear trapped, they lose the game. Loser's punishment, cannot jump for 10 seconds. Explosive behavior, both players get their ally checks disabled. The objective is landing a hit on the most amount of players for 10 seconds. Art of Scream doesn't count. The one with the highest amount wins. Loser gets exploded, dealing 50 typeless AoE damage, and it auto grips. Broken bow, both players must not use any projectiles at all, yes, even cannons, for 10 seconds. Loser punishment, every projectile loses 200% of its accuracy. So it is, what do you mean it loses 200% of its accuracy? That does not make sense. Unless you mean it's 200% less accurate, which also doesn't make sense because Deepwoken mantras are fully accurate. So just add a, I don't know, a 200% increase in degree variance from 90 degrees is how I guess you would do that. And using an auto track projectile will make it target another person instead of the indicated one. If you use the projectile bell, they get a 50-second cooldown on top of their original cooldown. Okay, this I think is the best bell I have ever seen. This would be so much fun. And the corrupted version is down here, no skill rule. Both players cannot involve into other conflicts, cannot grip or carry someone that's knocked. Breaking the rule leads to all healing sources disabled for 20 seconds. If the bell user breaks the rule, they get the corrupted downside doubled. Oh, that's cool. And then sing the song louder. Both players must deplete their entire ether bar by casting mantras or abilities that require ether. Winners determined by the player with the lowest percent of their bar. Loser gets 60% less regen, 35% less tempo gain. If the bell user loses, they get their corrupted downside doubled plus the card effect. Okay, this is the best bell suggestion I have ever seen. This would be so much fun, unironically. Like, I think people, okay, so people in here are complaining, oh, it's a cool concept, but it changes combat way too much. Fuck you. I think it's fun. Like, this would be so much fun. Genuinely, I would love this because I think Deepwoken is too static in its combat. Like, you're complaining that it changes the combat way too much. I think Deepwoken combat is too samey and boring in every fight right now. This would be fun. I would love this. I would run this on every build and start overworld ganking again if they added this bell. I'm not even joking. You guys would get weekly gank videos from me if they added, or at least one, just because I'd be having so much fun with this. And I think people who think that like certain things that change the combat too much, you're lame and boring. This would be fun, all right? And some other people are saying, oh, it's too complex for a bell. Shut up. No, it's not. It's actually pretty simple. And I think like just the Simon Says gimmick would just be fun. But yeah, as a whole, this was a fun one. I actually liked a lot of these suggestions today. They're pretty good. And I hope you guys enjoyed as usual. Anyway, there's a new video on the live channel, so go check that out after watching this video. I uploaded it yesterday, I believe, from when you guys are watching this. So yeah, go watch that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I ranked all the states in America. And if you're not from America, learn about America. Go watch the video. It's funny anyway, right? Hope you guys enjoyed. Shout out to YouTube members of tier 2 or higher. Green, Philip, Delusional Mo, Broccoli, Akiosugi Kuni, Burger, Fun Guns, Goobka, and Drizzy Drake Fan. There'll be a new song cover in the next few days or next week. Sorry, it came out a little bit later than I'd prefer. I've been a little bit busy, guys, but I promise the song cover will be coming next week. I love you all. Have an amazing day as usual, and goodbye.